U.S. is now in possession of 2 oil tankers linked to Venezuela just days after carrying out a military operation in the South American country. You may remember we brought you this live yesterday morning as it was unfolding. The U.S. Southern Command posted this video showing the apprehension of one of those vessels in the Caribbean. The government claimed it was involved in illicit activities. President Trump told the New York Times reporters, I should say, in a wide-ranging interview yesterday that U.S. oversight of Venezuela could last for years. His administration's actions against the South American country are continuing to divide officials, though, in Washington.
The level of sophistication that Senate just was briefed on and the House was briefed on, a classified level, is something only the United States of America can accomplish. The world is taking notice of that. Certainly Venezuela is taking notice of that. And it continues because 2 oil tankers, 2 overnight, were seized by the United States.
What happens next? There are plans and procedures in place, but it's impossible to know exactly how it's all going to play out. We have to see how that works. I trust the people who are in charge of this.
I'm concerned that there seems to be no plan, no strategy for what comes next. The administration seems to be acting minute to minute, day by day, without a clear objective.
Frankly, I think the only people who are getting the truth here, and the president confirmed this on Air Force One the other night, are the oil executives who stand to make record-breaking profits. And having fought in a war for oil, I refuse to allow that to happen again.
Now, the division over Venezuela, it's not unique to Washington. Take a look at this. It's fresh new CBS News polling that shows 48% of Americans approve of the U.S. military's removing Nicolás Maduro from power, but 52% disapprove. Joining us now to break down what's behind it all is CBS News Elections and Surveys Executive Director Anthony Salvanto. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
Great to have you on this topic, and I'm very interested to know what's behind Americans' views as they share with you what they think.
Divisions, as with so many things we see, right? Start with this, which is that 7 in 10 don't think the administration has clearly explained what it sees as the U.S. goals. What's important about that is then when you ask people, what do they think the goals here are? One of the top answers is getting access to Venezuela's oil, right? Less, but a lot of Republicans, and that's important, say it's about stopping drugs from entering the U.S. What's important about all this is what you think the goals are is part and parcel with your approval and disapproval, because look at this. If you think it's a lot about getting access to oil, more likely to disapprove of the action, but stopping drugs, and you're more likely to approve it. So what you think the goals are goes to your approval.
And that's a key distinction, because now many Americans will wonder what happens next. The administration wants to get public support for whatever that may be. It's taxpayer dollars at use here. So what do Americans think of the next step?
Exactly. So take a look at this. How much control should the U.S. now have over and in Venezuela? Look at this big number that says not much or none. So that's what people want, or in this case, don't want, the majority. The other part of this is, what do people think it will need to have in terms of the military? And here you see a third think there will still be a lot of military involvement, the bulk of at least some. So this is this collective uncertainty about what's going to happen next. All of this goes back to that approval, right? The folks who think it will have a lot or some may be more likely than to be reluctant to approve or more disapproving.
And if I think of just the other headlines you've shared from polling in the past 6 months, if most Americans want some or no intervention in Venezuela, and if the economy and prices are the things they're most concerned about, what kind of political picture does this create for the administration, for Democrats who are trying to negotiate where we go from here? Yeah,
this is all part of it, because what I think happens is, what do people see as what should the U.S. do if, in this case, let me use this example to your question, if other countries in the region don't cooperate? And this big number would oppose further military action. So you're starting to see this landscape of how people will evaluate this going forward based on what happens. And a lot of it hinges on how much military involvement they see happening.
Yeah, fascinating results there. Viewers can dive into all of it at cbsnews.com. Anthony Salvanto, appreciate you and your team's work.
Thank you.